Hi everyone. Uh, you think it's time to start, or should we wait a little bit more?
Alan, I think you can start because we are
Uh-huh.
on schedule, tight schedule. Okay.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the first workshop of today's event about students' adaptation to new learning environment during the COVID-19 pandemic. We will discuss the challenges and opportunities. This workshop will be hosted by Bertil Maria Perez Marques from Engineering Institute of Porto, from Portugal, and myself, I am Lan Humek from University of Ljubljana, Faculty of Public Administration. I believe that this workshop will be organized as a brainstorming activity, so we hope that all of you will actively engage and exchange the ideas from your countries and especially from your institutions. Maybe keep in mind that in the center of our discussion should be students and their challenges during the COVID-19 pandemic. As members of society, for sure, students are not isolated groups. So we suggest that we will discuss their relationship with other stakeholders, especially with the faculty. By faculty, I mean faculty management, teaching staff, IT services, and Students' Affairs Office, public relations, and so on. And also with the relationship with government and their social life. By social life, I mean friends, family, and relatives. I suggest that in the first round, we describe what is the current situation in our countries. And perhaps Bertil can start with her experiences from the current situation in Portugal. So please, Bertil, if you can share with us some ideas.
Yes. So, hello. In Portugal, it's still good morning. So I will give us a current situation about what's happening right now here in Portugal. So for students, it's mandatory the use of masks through the campus because schools have started. And when we talk about campus, it's open and closed spaces of the schools. And the adoption of safety and personal protection practices. Faculty management have prepare a reduction of the maximum capacity of the physical spaces, the installation of alcohol gel dispenser for facilities, individual dispensers for students, staff, and the teachers. They provide disinfection kits for the desks to promote the hygiene, the disinfection. Editing good practice manuals for using and promote the greater ventilation of the rooms, of the schoolrooms, and the installation of traffic signs for circulation on the installations of the schools. Teaching staff, it's mandatory the use in the campus of the masks, and and encourage physical distance in teaching activities. And we have it was necessary make a full or partial distance teaching. The schools decide how to manage that because of the number of students and because of the installations and because it was so we have a mix. The IT staff of the faculties increase the dematerialization process support to increase need related to distance teaching activities. They reinforce the computer resources. The other faculty staff, we have the adoption of remote work and service practices. State and government strengthened the means of health services and reinforce the social distance measures. Friends and families, it's our critical problem now. We have numerous meeting restrictions, but they are not always respected.
Okay, thank you. May I continue? I believe that situation in Slovenia is quite similar like in Portugal. So students have to wear masks all the time at the faculty building, not just on corridors, but also in the classrooms. And also teachers have to wear masks. So students are not allowed to sit wherever they want. So we have some chairs which are marked with green strips. So students have to sit there. That is a measure from our faculty management that ensures that minimal distance between two individuals is at least 2 meters. So we have quite a large number of students. So that means that if you teach a large number of a group of with many students, this group is now split to several smaller groups, and just one of these smaller subgroups is present in the faculty. The others attend the lectures and tutorials online. So we have this so-called hybrid system. And I have to stress that it is the current situation in Slovenia. So today there are lectures and tutorials at our faculty which are organized in this way. From the next week on, we decided to switch towards full online lectures and tutorial. So to complete distance learning, even for the smallest groups of students like PhD students or in higher years of study, some very small groups of students. And maybe I would like to say that before the semester, our faculty management also organized some workshops for teachers, and especially how to use the new technology for the remote work with students. And at the very beginning of the academic year, also our students had some tutorials how to use the modern technology and which platforms will we use for the distance learning. And University of Ljubljana supports also the students or provides them with all necessary equipment using Microsoft Office. So they have full access to usage of Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and also to Microsoft Teams, which is used as communication service. And also for contact hours with teachers. And they also have cloud storage space on OneDrive. Maybe I would like to say that switching towards online teaching and learning, especially for our faculty, will not be such a challenge because we have a long tradition of blended learning. So before COVID pandemic, yeah. Can Adeni just please turn off the microphone because I believe that. Okay, thank you. What we did is we've been using Moodle as our e-classroom platform for a very long time, even before the COVID pandemic. So in the last academic year, we extended it. So we installed a Big Blue Button plugin, and we are planning to give lectures and tutorials in the Moodle, so using Big Blue Button. Microsoft Teams and also Zoom are meant more or less for backup plan if something goes wrong with Big Blue Button. Okay, maybe the current situation regarding other stakeholders. I believe there is no explicit government measure targeted especially towards the students. But however, many of the government measures have strong impacts on students' lives. For instance, students use public transport very frequently, and they have to wear masks on the city buses and trains and so on. And since the situation is worsening in Slovenia, some of the bars and restaurants are closing or limiting their working hours, and that will probably affect students who work there. And maybe if for the last point of the first part, I would like to say some words about the private life of students. So young people like to party, and unfortunately in Slovenia, the nightclubs have been closed from March. And there is also a limitation of gathering in groups of more than 10 people nowadays. So that has some impacts on their student social lives. And also there are many restrictions about traveling. So it is strongly advised not to travel abroad nowadays. And that affects students' mobility. So I have some experiences that many students canceled pre-planned mobilities, Erasmus mobilities in other countries due to the situation which is very unstable and unsecure now. And there is also a plan of our government to limit traveling around the country, so that all the travels would be limited to smaller regions of Slovenia. And that can have impact on student social life because maybe some of the students have some relatives outside the region that they live in. So that's, I believe, what I wanted to say about the first part. Maybe the other partners could now join the discussion and share their experiences with us. Maybe focus more on e-learning since this workshop is more or less more focused on e-learning. So please, everyone, welcome to the discussion. maybe how is situation in Italy, since I see that there are many colleagues from Italy. You had bad experiences in the wave, so how is the current situation now in Italy?
Maybe I could add something,
Yeah, please.
then I would invite my colleagues to integrate the information. Yesterday, there was a new decree from the government with which was the first decree of this period in which we have new restrictions. The first restrictions were at the end of February. Then at the beginning of May, there was a first decree with the loosening of some measures. And from May, there were other decrees, but the decree of yesterday is the first one in which we go back about some measures. So, for example, the masks are compulsory basically everywhere, almost everywhere. And as regards, for example, family, friends, we can invite a maximum 6 people in our houses. Concerning sports, the sports with contact are not allowed anymore. And then there are other restrictions, and I invite my colleagues then to integrate. But concerning specifically university, and I'm talking especially about the situation at the University of Verona, we have mixed teaching strategies with some on-site and some online lessons. For example, the students of the first years have the possibility to attend the lessons both online and or on-site, while for the other years, the lessons are directly online. Another thing also here, there were many workshops and seminars for teachers to teach them how to use and integrate the new technological software within for the lessons. There are restrictions also for traveling. For example, for going to Switzerland, if I'm not wrong, there is the quarantine again, and etc. Other specific traveling restrictions. These are the most relevant restrictions that I have in mind, but if other colleagues want to integrate what I said, they are welcome.
Thank you, Daniela, for sharing your experience with us. Maybe someone can also write their comments and suggestions to the chat if you are not, if you don't want to expose yourself using camera or to speak. So we had a comment from student representative from Iceland. Who has question about the exams, how we performed exams, and how perhaps Johanna, you are asking also how we are planning to do the exams in the future. So in Slovenia, we were quite lucky that the exam period was in the beginning of June, end of May, beginning of June. So at that time, it was perhaps the best period in terms of COVID pandemic. So we had exams at the faculty with some limitations about number of students being present at the same time. At the same time, yeah. But otherwise, the exams were held normally. There were some partial exams which were in forms of quizzes during the semester. I personally don't have any experiences with them, but I'm quite afraid that the second wave will be much, much worse, and we will have to think about how to organize exams for so large number of students. Does anyone of the colleagues have any experiences about exams during the first wave, or how, or maybe if we think about the future, although it's meant for the last part of the workshop, how are you planning to organize exams and partial exams in the at your universities?
Maybe I can say what kind of experience we have from Poland. During June, we organized many exams, and we used actually at the same time 2 platforms. Students had to be registered on Moodle when they, for example, took quizzes or tests exam, and at the same time they had to be connected via Zoom because teachers wanted to observe their I don't know, faces, yes, and the environment in which they took the exam. So on the Moodle exam was set for the specific period of time, and yes, this is the one example of organizing the exam in way of quiz. When it comes to more practical exams, especially for students from different medical faculties and health sciences faculties, we did it in the way that on Zoom, via Zoom, a student got the case study for deep analysis with several questions. The case was created to be very practical, and the commission was on site in the university facilities, and students from home tried to answer those questions for the case. Yes, and it was kind of practical exam.
Thank you, Beata, for sharing your experience. Maybe can I ask you how many students did you have? So how large were the groups of students?
Now?
Yeah.
Yes. Yes, so when it comes to current situation, I have to admit, I have to say that we have a hybrid system of education, because we have very practical faculties, yes, medicine, nursing, midwifery, etc., etc. So for theoretical classes like lectures and seminars, the groups are for seminars 30 students, and for lectures more than 100, depends on the year. And we use mostly Microsoft Teams and Moodle with Big Blue Button. And now I can say that this is very well organized and everything works. For the practical training, we have very small groups, up to 5 students, and we have agreements with healthcare facilities until they are not closed, until they are open for let's say visitors and students. This training is going on, but we had to change the completely, in some cases, curricula. We now, having this experience from the spring, we like changed the subjects. Now we are realizing more difficult topics, more complicated when it comes to skills. In case we are closed, in case there is another lockdown, to have left more easier for online learning. So I can say that having this experience from the spring, now we are very well prepared for the different options, different scenarios, and another lockdown.
Thank you. And if you have, you mentioned that you teach a group of 100 students, and how are you planning to organize exams for them? So perhaps one-to-one will be too time-consuming. Will you split the group to smaller subgroups, and will you prepare different exam questions, different exams for these groups, or if you can?
Yes. When it comes to tests, when it comes to quizzes, it is possible to do it as I said during the spring semester. So 100 or more, this is not a problem. Teachers who observe the students, they are divided. That, for example, me is observing students from 1 to 15, and the rest observing students from 16 to 30, etc., etc. But they had to be registered on 2 platforms at the same time. Yes, we try to have smaller, maybe not smaller groups, but we try to have very different methods of evaluation. So not only the final exam like test, but also during the semester smaller activities to have this feeling that students are well assessed during the entire period of education. Because we know that the one method of assessment, like test only, this is not the best way, but the oral exam, it would be very time consuming for both sides.
Thank you. Any other experience, suggestion?
Yes, if I can say
yes, sure.
A few words. Our experience, it's in a way similar. We had the final exam, graduation exam, where students, if they didn't have the possibilities, I mean, they need to have a very good reason to show up in person. But we had a few who came up and presented their final thesis, graduation or admission in master, or graduation in master programs. So we had also some physical, very limited, and only one in our university, at least only one faculty had admission exam written with a physical presence in Faculty of Law, where they had a written exam, very well competitive, and they organized it in many buildings of the university in order to keep the distance and take all the necessary measures. And this was similar in a medical school in Bucharest. The medical school, they organized it physically in a big setting within their university, their faculties, but also in other places. As for the platforms, we immediately after lockdown we used many platforms. Usually, it wasn't a clear indication to use a specific one. I think most of us used Zoom and Meet, Google Meet. We have now we have been advised to use Microsoft Teams and Meet, but we have some trainings for teachers and for students also to use Moodle. We have Moodle for distance learning. And for the exams, we had, at least I had both, or many types, from written exams where students submitted their papers which were graded, to quizzes, several quizzes to test their knowledge, even oral exam, online oral exam, but with very few students, like up to 5 students in 1 hour, something like that. And yes, I had some colleagues who sent their requests for the exam, and students had about 2 hours to solve the subject, and then submitted to the professor back. Now we are, as I said, now we are working on usually on Teams and Meet.
Thank you, Florian. Maybe I have one question for everyone here. How do you prevent, so if you perform exams online, how do you prevent that students don't cheat? So do you prepare different exams for them? And if they have different questions, are they in a way fair? Can one be lucky to get the questions that they know, or someone can fail because they were unlucky? So maybe some suggestions how to prevent cheating and how to ensure that everyone takes exam under the same conditions.
Well, I want to do for this semester one of the courses I am planning to have small written exam, small quiz at the end of each course. So in this way, I hope that I get some attention during my presentations, and I don't speak only in front of a black computer, black monitor. And yes, usually I shuffle questions on the order of responses, so that I prevent the cheating. This is for the for the usual, the classical, where they send the paper, then that's a symptom. Well, it's the old situation where you need to check for plagiarism with various tools, but some students try to be innovative, and they translate from languages that we might not know. But Google Translate is not so good. So I found we had papers translated from Italian or Polish, or not only English.
Johanna, you are a student from Iceland, and the word is yours. So please share with us your experiences.
Hello, thank you. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Yes, great. Just making sure my microphone's working. Yeah, thank you for your replies. So it's great to hear your responses. I am from the National Student Union, so what we are dealing with is not maybe specifically practical solutions. It's more the principle of students' access to education. And the situation that is coming up is that there are midterm exams that people students are required to show up to for various reasons. That might be mentioned that there's a concern that they might cheat, or that platforms have not been tested or developed, or it's just the opinion of each department that that's the best way to do it. Of course, there are taken precautionary measures. People wear masks and are spread out, but it is our opinion as the National Student Union that people shouldn't be made to choose between listening to the guidelines of the government, which are right now stay home, and then showing up to university where, despite the precautions, there's still some risk. So it's interesting to hear the practical solutions, and I'm sorry if this is not the workshop to be asking about the kind of principles behind it, but I'm kind of looking for whether universities are making this requirement in any other places, that people do show up even though there are these restrictions. And then also I think we're trying to what we're running into, which is interesting that's been mentioned, is someone mentioned that one final exam is not the best assessment method, and it is exactly departments that have not yet or are not interested in developing more diverse assessment methods that are having the most issues with transitioning to online learning, it seems, where if you already have small exams, it's easier to have those online. It's the most difficult if your assessment completely relies on one final exam in person, then online assessment becomes difficult. So it's interesting how maybe pushing, how this will maybe push some departments into developing more diverse assessment methods because they need to, because they can't have people show up in person. So yeah, I'm not asking more questions. We can move on if there's something else we want to discuss. But we would like to point out somehow that in other places where the infections are on the rise, that people are not made to make this choice of showing up in person. Thank you.
Thank you, Hannah. Maybe we can also discuss some other aspects of e-learning. Maybe share experiences how you as teachers were treated from the faculty. So has faculty organized any seminars, workshops in order to improve your skills with modern technology? Or maybe did they buy you any software? For instance, we are now waiting for some tablets where we can use them as remote blackboards and write on our slides. Our IT services also provide help for teachers and for students as well. So maybe if you have some
okay, Len, can I? Yes, can I still
sure.
answer? I had raised my hand, but you didn't see. Still answer the prevent cheating. It was mandatory making assessments or evaluation online. Don't have students at school in the first round, July. So not every teachers make exams. So we had works, we had one by one questions. We had a lot of types of evaluations, not only exams. Many people use Moodle to make assessments, but we don't, 50% were not exams. Now, I can also tell about what you have asking now. We had a lot of workshops, of webinars to use new tools for learning distance, for give by teachers who already know the softwares, and groups of teachers knows how to use new software, and the school buy or because some like Gradescope and another ones are free until 31 December 2020. And so we had a lot of formation with online formation.
Thank you. Maybe the technological aspect is just one aspect of new learning environment. Were there any organized workshops in your countries, in institutions, about how to use, not technically how to use the new software, but how to engage students, that they ask, that they don't fall asleep during your lectures? How can you stimulate the communication and so on? Do you have any experiences and experiences in practical usage of engagement techniques, or any suggestions from theory that you learned on workshops and seminars? Because it's hard to, you don't see students, you don't know what are they doing, what are they listening, if they are present there or not. It's easy to turn off the microphone and camera, and you are present at the conference or the lecture, but you are actually doing something else. How do you engage that they're like being present in the real classroom? Any experiences? Bertil, do you have any experiences to engage? Maybe turn on your microphone. Role play?
Myself, I didn't have problems with my students and my colleagues with who I talk more. We have a good feedback from the students, and they want more. If we have the teams on 24/7, we have always solicitations all the time, because I think they themselves, the students, were at home. They couldn't be with their friends. They were only studying or seeing TV. So they were studying. They were doing what they had to do for classes. They joined by group using Discord and other WhatsApp to talk, and they use Teams and Moodle and Zoom to talk with the teachers and to have the classes. But sometimes at 3 o'clock, I had questions at 3 o'clock in the morning, asking, I can't solve this exercise, what's the problem? And a print screen with the exercise. So because they were at home, they couldn't go to the beach, they couldn't go to the coffee, to go with the friends. It was a confinement at home, and so they studied. So it wasn't. It was easy to have them with us.
Okay. Thank you. Florian shared experiences about role plays and small quizzes. Florian, do you have personal experience, or has your faculty organized some workshops about how to engage them with the students?
No, I have personally experience in this. I used this, and I'm planning to continue using it. And yes, this is what I'm thinking about to use. And also even today because I had classes before, and I presented them some video materials. So I tried to change the format, not only to be a classical lecture, but to be more interactive and showing them various maps, statistics, as this is my case with the course that I have, some videos, and then discuss about this. It takes some time until the students respond, especially when there is a course. In the seminar, it's a bit easier, I say, because there are fewer, but when you have more than 50 people in the same presentation, it's more complicated. But well, this is how I did it. I'm not sure if it worked with all of them.
Yeah. It's hard to find a solution that's perfect for anyone.
Yes, I'm trying to find a new way.
Yeah. Okay. Any other comments? Okay. If there are no comments about this section, maybe we can think about the future. And by future, I mean learning from experiences. What maybe?
Sim. Eu não posso fazer nada. Olha.
Sorry?
É sim.
Okay, so maybe
tem. Eu vou mudar de casa. E se eu mudar de casa, implica um novo contrato.
Possible that you turn your microphone off.
Operadora.
Okay. Okay, so maybe we can discuss about the mistakes that we students, teachers, government made in the first wave of the COVID pandemic, and what is something that shouldn't have been done, and that we learned and will not repeat the same mistake again, because the second wave is fast approaching, or we are in the middle of the second wave. So can you remember any experiences, what was not done right, and that you will do that in the future differently? Maybe some experiences in terms of using technology.
So, can I start?
Yeah, sure.
Can I start then? So, we think here what shouldn't be done in the first wave by the faculty management. They do not provide technical means or financial support to teachers for the learning distance, because teachers, students went home, teachers also, but if teachers didn't have their own computers, their own internet, and pay their bills of electricity, internet, the schools didn't help to support those extra bills. Teaching staff, the adoption of a distance class using exactly the same format front-to-front class. Some teachers didn't adapt for this change. Some, yes, some are more e-learners, but some not. State and government, certain decisions could have been taken earlier. It should be a good way to not have the numbers that we had. With friends and family, limited use of mask, as well as permission to socializing between families and friends. Okay, we will have a family lunch in confinement. Oh, no problem, it's nothing. But no, it was a problem, and it was bad.
Mm-hmm. Okay, maybe I can share one experience from Slovenia with you. So our government gave 150 euros for each student, and disregarding their social aspects. So maybe a student had a scholarship and that was just beneficial, 150 euros. But some of the students have to work in order to survive or to live in Ljubljana, or maybe they also have to support their family, parents, or maybe they have children, and this 150 euros was not so sufficient. Maybe in some situations it is hard to unify the approach. So maybe I can ask you about what your government did in order to support students, and what do you think about their measures? Were they suitable or not? And how can a government learn from experience in the first wave to be more fair or to be more efficient in the second wave? Because I talked with many students and they said, okay, I'm working and I lost the job since I was working as a waiter in a restaurant, and I lost all my money that I earned, and 150 euros was not enough. Any suggestions about government measures from the first wave, how to use them or how to extend them for the second wave? Did the students in your country get any support from the government? So like in Slovenia? I think that the government will think about that measure again. Maybe they will give different amount of money to other students.
Most of the students here pay to study.
So yeah, yes, sure. It was nice that you participated in the workshop. We have 5 more minutes, so we are approaching the end of our workshop. Although we had in plan that our table will be full of suggestions, some of the parts were more discussed than others. Maybe do you have any suggestions about the future? Maybe thinking about more distant future when COVID pandemic will be a bad memory, and I hope just one lost year in our life. How the world in terms of e-learning will change. So perhaps I believe, and everyone perhaps also believes, that the role of e-learning will be much stronger than it was in the past. But if you have other opinions, or if you agree with me, please please share thoughts with us.
If I may?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, so I think that now when this digital transformation is in force, and there are many also free courses, and let's say universities open their courses, I think that higher education is now accessible to the wider audience. And even I think also that the COVID will also put higher education at higher level, let's say, because there will be transformation of the jobs who will be more stable to have these jobs. It will be more stable employment in some sectors. For example, as you can see now, tourism or some other sectors like flight or airports and so on, these sectors are now really under pressure. And there are some other sectors, probably like public administration and so on, which can offer more, let's say, safe jobs. And I think this will also affect students, and also affect the whole population, maybe to study more, maybe to approach to higher education in distant future. So this is one possibility. However, I think that generally this COVID did digital transformation. It pushed digital transformation in higher education, and that's a good point. But I'm afraid that the differences between rich and poor, or let's say poorer students, will be at the end of the day losers of this digital transformation, and maybe also of COVID. So the inequality among students will even increase, and this could be also a problem and challenge for the governments, maybe also for the universities, to change their policy, how to approach to the students. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments?
If I may say something,
Yeah, sure.
We witnessed an increase in the number of students, actually students enrollment in the new first year. And I think thinking on the long term, this might encourage universities more to develop distance learning and online courses, which didn't happen before, from my point of view. Or and in this way, some students from more distance or distance areas than the big university cities will be more interested in joining to university studies. But as Alexander said, it's true that for those from disadvantaged groups, the inequalities will be increasing. This is how it seems so far.
Thank you. I agree with you. This gap will be probably increasing. Yeah.
You have already the principal, the four ones in students, faculty, teaching, and IT staff. But here in Portugal, state and government need to invest in equipment and health personnel, reinforce the prevention measures, and make a modernization of the means of transport, because now it's a cause of possible contagion.
Okay, thank you. I'm afraid that we ran out of time. So I would like to thank everyone for taking part in this interesting.
Lan, can I have one suggestion?
Yes, sure.
That this table will be sent to all participants, and they would put their, let's say, brainstorming, and maybe because now most of them were shy, and we will try to gather all these inputs from the participants, and let's say in day or two try to fill your suggestions or your views of these elements of this table, so that this table will be full and it will be helpful for further work.
Yes, that's a very good suggestion, and I hope that we will fill out the missing fields and extend the existing ones. So thank you again for taking part. Stay safe, stay healthy, and I hope to see you live sometime in the future. So thank you.
Okay, thank you, Lan. I think now we have a break, and we are continuing in 15 minutes with another workshop related to the mental health. So see you in 15 minutes.
Hello, everybody. Hello, Daniela. Can you hear me?
Hello. Yes.
Okay. Hello. Welcome, everybody. Are we ready to continue? Okay. So some of the participants were already at the previous session, so we can maybe summarize the situation. We will just briefly, not for each of the stakeholders, repeat maybe what we know about the situation in Europe in general, and then we will kindly ask the participants to add some issues from their countries. So if we take a look at the tables first, just to repeat a bit what we will be talking about. So the results of our research showed that students were feeling different kinds of emotions. Of course, this was quite an interesting and challenging period in Europe this spring. So the major emotions felt by the students were frustration, and anxiousness. And of course, this was probably due to different kinds of worries, because they were worried about their personal career, their future education, and studying issues. So we cannot be surprised that they had some issues to be solved, because the situation was new, it was unpredicted, and unfortunately nobody thought we will be faced with this situation again in early October. Because 1 month ago, when we started to plan this event, the situation was quite different. But as I am acquainted all over the Europe, the situation is getting worse, and we are all quite close to epidemic. So if I can tell for the Slovenian situation, on the 1st of October, we started the semester in a hybrid model. So the implementation of the study was planned as much as possible at the universities, except also for seminars and the practical work and laboratory lectures. But from next week on, the suggestion from the government is to go completely online, because the situation is getting worse and worse. For a few weeks, masks are mandatory already also outside, and classical distancing is suggested 1.5 meter, and of course the dispensers and all this equipment at the faculty. So what was quite a change in spring, and also it's still valid for this period, students will not be able to go on international exchanges as massively as in the past, and the same is true for teachers. In Slovenia, different universities use different kinds of e-learning environment. So, for example, at our faculty, we use Moodle and MS Teams and Zoom for different forms of communication. And this is it for the situation as to be described now. So maybe in Italy, Daniela already explained that it is also getting more strict in all areas of life outside university and within. Maybe you can add something.
Yes, I have put the main points also in the chat, but basically in Italy from yesterday there was a new decree with some measures concerning restrictions. The main one is that the masks are basically compulsory everywhere. Then there are more specific restrictions. And during the previous workshop, I anticipated that this is the first decree from May in which there are additions in the restrictions rather than a certain loosening of them. And as you can see from the list, at the university, lessons are mixed. It depends on the universities and on the year of attendance of the students. Probably in Italy, university reacted better compared to their other school levels. For example, in February, within 1 or 2 weeks, the University of Verona was able to offer online lessons, while the school in the rest of Italy reacted much slower than this. Exams are mixed. Sometimes there is a possibility to on-site exams, but now we are beginning again to think mostly about online exams. The other specific measures are listed concerning family and friends, sports, traveling and work, but basically we are in Italy adding restrictions that had been loosened during the summer.
Okay, so maybe from some other parts of the world, if anybody can join us, because the situation in Europe, we from Slovenia and Italy know. Our country puts different European and non-European countries on a map colored with red, green, orange, and gray, and more and more countries are going towards the red color. So after going there and coming back to Slovenia, the quarantine is required. This means that the situation is getting worse, not better. And each day we hear about huge numbers of new people being positive on COVID. So probably somebody was supposing that winter will not be easy, but we are quite surprised with this fast pace of the changes. So is there anybody from other parts of the world to help us understand, is it getting better or worse? We hear there are in Slovenia not many news about the states anymore so intensively as it was. Russia is also getting in new big numbers. Roxana, maybe you are not muted. Hello, Roxana, Mexico.
Hello.
Roxana from Mexico. Hello.
Hello, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Of course, welcome. You are from Mexico?
I'm Roxana from Chile.
From Chile, okay. Welcome.
Yeah, so sorry, I'm now doing some arrangements for something. I can't be with my camera today.
Okay, no problem.
And yeah, this is from my mobile phone, right?
Okay. Can you just briefly describe the situation in Chile now? Is it getting better or worse, or?
Well, I have just joined the meeting, but I suppose you were talking about the situation of the classes.
No. In general, is it the epidemical situation getting worse or better? Because in Europe we found out that it's getting worse very quickly.
Well, actually, it's in Chile. I'm from Chile. In Chile, the situation is getting a little bit better in comparison with 2 months ago. For example, we have less cases of COVID right now in Chile, in all the regions. And the government is thinking opening the schools and universities in the next months. Universities are still closed, also schools, but even students are asking for the opening of these institutions. At least we have another calendar because we have different seasons. So basically now we are in a spring time.
You are starting spring semester, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
We finish in December. Right? And then in January and February, we are in summer. We are supposed to finish in December. So we have just the last 2 months of classes, last 3 months, I will say. So basically we are, some people want to return to classes, but some people are not sure about that because we see the cases in Europe that you open everything and now you are having a kind of respring or people cases are still like increasing now after you were able to lower the cases and now they are increasing again in Europe. Okay.
Okay, I would kindly ask everybody to mute the phones or laptops when not speaking. And if anybody wants
so basically, the case in our country, in Chile, is you know, is improving, but still we have a lot of cases in our country. So we are, you know, we just have kind of plans of reopening everything, but still not sure about that, because if we really consider the cases in Europe, I don't know if it's a good thing to reopen everything, but also the government and also people are very worried about the schools, the universities, and also the business, the economical part.
Yeah,
I mean, it's also hard for that. So I really didn't prepare any specific thing for this meeting, because I thought it was going to be more based on Europe, right?
It
Yeah.
will be discussion. Yeah. Okay, but I just wanted to know the situation everywhere else. Thank you very much. So if we go to the concrete ideas of what was done well and what should be improved in the next waves. Again, we should focus on mental health in ways how to support students. So maybe from the university side, Daniela, do you have any ideas what was done well by your university or Italian universities?
Yes, again, I've tried to summarize some ideas. They are
focusing on supporting mental health of students, not whether it was okay, this method of learning and so on. Okay.
Among the different things that you can see in the chapter, for example, there are references to the activation of some help desks for students. For example, from the University of Cattolica in Milan, also from the University of Trento. Here in Verona, there was an help desk for psychological support for workers, not for students. And so this is both a positive side and a negative side of the medal, because in some universities, like our university, for example, there were no specific psychological supports activated for the students. Other specific actions related to mental health were conducted, for example, by us, the University of Verona, monitoring in a way similar to what you promoted in the survey on all the students at the cross-national level. We monitored how the students of Verona felt during the lockdown, and we are still monitoring their emotions and their ways of reacting. And at the same way, many other universities are active in conducting researches on how the students feel. On the other side, not everywhere have been activated services for supporting students.
Okay, any other experience from other countries, these ideas of help desk? What was this, you applied via email or how?
Maybe I can say that at the university level, in our case, one of the department of psychology opened kind of a phone line with psychological help for both teachers and students of different level, undergraduate and postgraduate students, and it was organized during the first wave in the first lockdown, and is still working, and it is promoted on the university website. Actually, I don't know how many students used this phone line and seeking for help, but yes, it was the possibility offered for students and teachers. And when it comes to NGOs, there are many actions, for example, organized by psychological and psychiatrist associations, with also phone lines and different kind of psychological support. But this is directed to general public, medical workers, students. So this is not targeted only at students, more general.
Okay, thank you very much. Any other experiences? For example, here, regarding the government, we already mentioned in Slovenia, students received in May, not at the beginning, but then end of May, 150 euro of some financial support, which is quite symbolic. This didn't really help those who were in need, but still there was something. And a bit later, with July, every citizen aged 18 or above, these are also students, received 200 euro of some kind of tourist vouchers to be used for spending them in the hotels or some other tourist accommodation, just for a night with the breakfast, not for example, these were some negative comments, so they weren't able to spend it in restaurants for lunch or for cultural events and so on. So this is our experience. So maybe some kind of help it was, but maybe it's not good. We can put it under the minuses. This help was not targeted to those who were more in need, for example, either more financially disadvantaged or with some other special needs, maybe health issues. Also, we have students with this problem. Okay. Some other ideas?
Maybe this is connected, but not so much. Also in Italy, there were some financial supports, for example, for holidays, but in general for people with specific characteristics. So it was for everyone. There was basically, it was not targeted specifically on students. There was a babysitter bonus, which regarded the other school levels, not the university levels, because they are not interested in that. And these were government interventions. Some universities have supported students offering bonus to improve their technological devices or the internet connections. For example, the University of Padova in Veneto. But these were sporadic, specific interventions of single universities. And if we can think that mental health is also based on the fulfillment of basic needs, we can argue that these measures can, in a certain measure, be helpful. On the other hand, they were not specific to protect, to help people's university students' mental health. And this is the wrong side of the medal.
Okay. Can we say anything about families or friends support? Were there any other research it's done? There was quite a big change for those students who went home, not being in the cities anymore, either in dorms or in private accommodation. So these were also probably some issues coming back home again, staying at home with all those who were isolated together with them. There were also issues of not being together with friends, previous roommates. Were there any issues? Probably not so serious, because this was quite, in Europe, this period was quite short, 2 months, and we all knew there will be summer soon. And this situation is quite different from this one now, because it can last whole autumn and whole winter, and also in spring.
If I may add something about this, unluckily, I would say that these issues goes in the things that were done wrong. And for example, in the report that we prepared for the presentation of the afternoon, we reported the words of a university student in one of the surveys that we conducted, which said, I think that the university should have tried to activate a psychological support service to help the students who were alone in their flats, far from everything and everybody. They suffered from psychological damages. So at least for some students, what was missing is very clear.
And I think this was also true for some students who stayed in our countries after coming on international exchanges, because we also had students who came from, I don't know, China and different other countries in February, and they first went to quarantine for 2 weeks. They didn't even join the others who were still for a week or two at the faculty, and then everything went online. And then they were again in trouble, not knowing how will they come back home, when will they go back home. So this was quite an issue. International office at our faculty helped them a lot. Some teachers helped them a lot, listening to them, trying to find the way out, the information on the airport and so on. So maybe some centralized information system should be established in this direction. Maybe if we take a look at the EU level, I think for the past measures, it's difficult to find any examples, because this was really a short and quickly developing time period. So maybe we should find more forms of suggestions for all these stakeholders now. Maybe if we go short run first, or if we have some other ideas of what was not done well. If we have suggestions or experience now for the improvements, maybe for this semester and for the following years, because we all know this implications of this crisis will have long-term effects on students. So regarding the universities, as we already discussed, maybe more harmonized systems of e-learning methodologies. In Europe, many students didn't have enough digital competences. We will see from the presentations later in the afternoon. So do we know whether they are equipped well with these competencies or not. Did anybody ask them, or are we just guessing? Maybe true also for teachers, because if we are not equipped well, then we can also not expect this from the students. Any other ideas?
Can I add a question about psychological support? We have, for example, made reference to help desks or similar services. Is there anyone who have experience of interventions that were that targeted not specific individuals with specific problems, but the larger population? I mean, for example, we conducted a training with workers during the lockdown in May to help to develop their awareness on which coping strategies, reactions are more adaptive to cope with the negative emotions associated with the pandemics. But we didn't activate similar interventions with university students. Is there anybody who has experiences about this, or is there anybody who has ideas about possible future interventions?
Some other colleagues? So they don't yes, Beata, maybe, or somebody else. So this is brainstorming, a group brainstorming, not only dialogue between Daniel and myself.
Yes, so maybe I will only add that this department, which started to organize this help phone line for students and teachers, probably at the end of May released a survey to collect data from university students regarding their needs. When it comes to psychological support and methods of coping, etc., etc. But to be honest, I don't know what happened further with these results, but probably I'm sure that this data now is used for creating a specific help, psychological help for students in this new learning environment.
Okay, thank you.
Can I go on with the brainstorming? You are saying that you are using the responses of the students to intervene, to change things. And I was thinking, are we planning, for example, within the global survey, an action in which we give back to the students the results concerning their responses? I mean, I don't know if we have specific channels through which we are able to give feedbacks to our participants about, for example, how they felt. And I know that this is only a small step, but it is relevant for students to understand their emotions. And this is already a first step of interventions. So I was wondering if we can think also together about specific ways to reach the participants of our researches.
So to offer them feedback on our, this is possible if we activate again all these researchers that were involved, because I think we have already some materials on our website And then with the papers, we will. This is a good idea, yes, of course. So.
I mean, we are in terms of mental health or prevention, we can move at different levels. Our intervention can be targeted to people with difficulties, with mental health difficulties, and for example, the phone line has probably the specific aim, but we can also target people without specific problems or mental health problems. And we know that increasing our knowledge on how we feel is a good thing for mental health.
Yeah, of course, to understand that also we are not alone and to express the
yeah.
the feelings. This is
on the other things.
Yes.
Guys, hello.
Sana?
Yeah, can I add something about that? In the case of my country, of my university, we have a kind of office. I mean, office of counseling, but it's not it's an office created now. Okay, so students who want to who need some counseling in terms of how to deal, how to face problems with the online learning or personal problems, emotional problems related to this crisis, they do online sessions, Zoom sessions of counseling with some psychologists at the university. And also we have created some resources like videos helping students to deal with emotions in this pandemic time, videos, capsules, things like that. So we have, in Chile, we have worked with those resources.
Great, thanks. Yes, everything was more fighting a fire in spring, and now we could do all these things more systematically because now we know that they had worries, that they had some unpleasant emotions, so we can more systematically help them at different levels. What about families and friends? Are there any tools maybe from the NGOs or some other kinds of specialists to give support also to students, family and friends to make them understand their family members who are students, for example?
Yeah, the help that we have at the university is not really targeted to families, but because students are adults. But anyway, it should be, maybe it should be a good idea. It could be a good idea to target families as well, but the resources are limited and the people, the human resources are limited. So we don't target that group, but at the government level, there are some initiatives actually, and some lines, helplines for families. In city halls, they have offices of counseling for families also, and yeah, and that's it basically.
Yes, thank you. It was not meant that the university would be in charge of taking care of families and friends, but maybe there should be some multi-level teams on the country level or region level with psychologists or some people from NGOs helping inform family members that it's also students who have specific needs, who have specific worries and troubles. So maybe this is a more long-term idea for the next row. What about the government then? We heard about some financial help. This should probably also be repeated in different periods of time, because as we heard also in previous workshop, students lost their sources of finance if the bars are closing, if the enterprises are closing. This should also be some government packages. But again, maybe from my point of view, more targeted. So really to those who need it, not to those who have everything, 3 iPhones and 5 cars, and so on. Maybe these phone lines should be promoted more, not only at the university level, but also on the country level, so that people know that they can apply for this kind of help targeted for students, not for all groups of people. Any other suggestions? At the EU level, maybe somebody can join with the experiences regarding the international exchanges. Because for example, at our faculty, exchanges are planned for spring semester, so we don't have this issue now, except for teachers. For example, I cannot go to Italy, which I wanted to now in the beginning of November. So these Erasmus exchanges, SMEPIUS, and this project will probably have to be reshaped in this situation, right, Daniela?
Yes, I was focused on another issue concerning Europe. However, yes, also here the Erasmus exchanges are for someone active, but I have information only from single students, and they have many difficulties because as we don't know what will happen in our university in the next months, the same is in the other countries. And the problems multiply with the rules are different in other countries.
Okay. And the other?
And the other related to the research project funded by EU and the European Commission. And I was thinking that, for example, during June and July, there were many calls relating to pandemic issues, and so the agenda of the European Commission is something that probably we cannot modify, but maybe if as researchers we are conducting researches on these issues, it would be good to give the feedbacks, the applied suggestions and all the outputs of our researches to people in as many channels as possible. I mean, the European level research on pandemic-related themes is fostered not only within the medical field, but also in the other disciplines. Probably it would be good if researchers would be really able to reach people, to communicate the main findings and the useful findings of their research projects.
This is a very good idea. So to make the scientific research more people-friendly, so that they know that we are researching these areas, and that we can somehow recognize their worries, their issues, and of course together then find the solutions, because this crisis, I think, will last for more than a few months, and this can then leave serious consequences on mental health of all kinds of groups at the bottom line, because also students, if they are not happy, probably their families are not okay, then if they are not secure about their future career, This is again a pressure for a family and so on. So these things are very interrelated, I think. They should be solved.
Maybe
Yeah.
just, yeah, maybe just one suggestion. Is there any, I mean, alert system at the university level, or I don't know, I know, because people who are having these problems, they don't put it outside. So maybe some friends could, let's say, expose this to the teachers or family members. I don't know, but maybe sometimes the problem is detected when it's too late. So just, do you have any ideas about this?
Yes, maybe to offer, like at the university, Beata said, these phone lines for students, maybe also for their friends and family. There should be some phone lines at national level, maybe implemented by NGOs, some other.
Yeah, but there is no promotion, even if this
Yes,
exists.
yeah.
There is a lack of promotion of this, so I think there should be done a lot more.
Yeah, done first and then promotion. Of course, thanks for the idea. In Slovenia, we have phone which is more dedicated to teenagers, and as I heard on the radio, those who are on the other side of the phone said it is scary that these phones remain more or less silent. So the children, teenagers didn't call during this crisis. So nobody knows what was going on really in their homes because we were under lockdown. So this measures should be taken and promoted to bring them close to those who need them, of course. Thanks. Okay. Maybe more on the long term, if we can finish in 10 minutes. So at the university level, what else should be done? We are definitely able to improve more, both students and teachers, using our skills, digital skills. The university is also planning to support us with some additional equipment so that we feel more comfortable, which is again then benefit also for the students because they feel safe when being equipped either with hardware or with different kinds of infrastructure, and both again with skills. So this cannot be done in a week or in half a year, but this should be a well-planned process, some kind of strategy in connection with, of course, ministries, Ministry of Education, Ministry of Finance, who should dedicate some resources, financial resources, and of course maybe trainers or companies providing this training if they're not sufficient at the universities, but they most probably are. At the EU level, we already said that the issues regarding the labor market will be open. I think we will also discuss in the panel that employers will start to change very differently because they will have to close their businesses, to fire their own employees. So who will then deal with our students, taking them on internship or other kinds of practical work? Will the enterprises will be suffering for their survival, and will they take time and energy and effort to give data to our students for their thesis, seminar works, and so on? There are already some reports from different institutions that they are already afraid of these generations of students. So this is quite a challenging topic for students, and again, their short and long-term mental health, I think. Okay, Lazar, thank you. These workshops are targeted to students regarding the use of these online platforms, as I suppose. Okay. Okay, you are already taking some measures in order to support.
I've just put in the chat some possible actions that I will explain in the presentation later. So we can take them there, and and go on with the rest of the brainstorming.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. We will now just copy them from the chat and then fill in the table. When
already done.
More time. Yes. Okay.
It's already done.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Some other participants.
Giada is added in the chat. Giada Vicentini from Verona.
So, are we now feeling well with the ideas of supporting our students in order to be worry less or with less worries, and feeling more hopeful as the Asian students were in our research? Jada, yes, what kind of leisure activities? Next week we are closing the sports centers, bars, hairdressers and so on. But in the long term, yes.
But for example,
we will have to adapt in all ways. Yes, please, Daniela.
I had a student during an online lesson who told to me that she felt really alone concerning the interactions with the students. So maybe the university could really offer to students the opportunities to work collaboratively also online. Because some students, this student was focused on learning tasks, but I imagine that she needed someone to study together, to build things together. So university could promote cooperative learning or something similar to help social interactions.
Yeah, but maybe not only in this learning sense, but also in socializing. Maybe it is important for the first year students who don't know each other. So maybe some online events should be organized, some workshops, not strictly connected with the studying teams, but same as if they go partying and so on. But some team buildings and this kind of things. Yeah, in smaller groups. So
yes, could I add something?
Yes, please.
Yes, I was thinking also to permit in the long term to do sport activities such as football or other types of sports that, for example, in Italy now are not permitted. So I think that in the long term it should be important to rethink this type of activities, taking into account the restrictions for health.
Yes, definitely. If we will have to stay at home or in small groups.
Can I add also something? And maybe a government should give us one-way information, not every day different informations and different guidelines how to, let's say, how to behave or how to wear mask or no mask and so on and so on. And I think this also, let's say, helps little bit to confusion and maybe even this increase of numbers in recent days, weeks is also a consequence of this. I mean, it's not so closely related to this, but what could government do, let's say, is about giving, let's say, one-way information and not so, let's say, doubtful information, which is sometimes in the, let's say, in a few weeks, it is not understood correctly, and then you see in United States and also in some countries. Also, we have in Slovenia this problem at the moment that that people sometimes do not believe government and trust to governments. And as our survey already show, people are not satisfied and people even don't trust governments. Thank you.
Okay, yes, more systematic information system and channels. Okay. Anything else? Are you already tired? This would be now important to conclude as constructive as possible, so that we have also appropriate inputs for the discussions of our paper. This was the main aim. So I hope we now cleared out a bit what the situation is. If there will be some changes in the following weeks, we will adapt. But first, we see there are the majority of measures connected with the university, and then, of course, on a national level and quite a little on the EU level, because there are then more long-term ones. Okay. Would anybody like to add anything? Or if not, we will send you this table. Maybe somebody is more comfortable when writing down the ideas, and then we will gather all these inputs together and have them in front of us when preparing the paper, if you agree. Okay. So we can now finish to have a short break, and we are all welcome to join us at 3, few minutes before 3, and at 3 we will start with our presentations and then continue with the panel. So welcome back soon. Thank you for your cooperation, and let's continue at 3 o'clock. Okay.
Okay, thank you, Nina, and thank you all to participate in this workshop. I think it was fruitful. Maybe, I mean, maybe you will be more active after when you will be alone and you will be able to write down your ideas into the system.
Okay. Thank you very much. Okay. See you. Bye.
See you. And of course, just to mention, there is another link. So we are not in this link. So you should change. You should go to another link. You can see it here in the guidelines. So in our schedule, event schedule. So there is another link. So please change it. That you will not wait here. It will not be the right room. So thank you once again, and see you in another room. So take a look at this.
Thank you.
There. Okay. Thank you, and see you there.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.